Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on Stargirl Season 3, and this is going to be my trailer breakdown for episode 10 for this season, the fourth last episode, I guess, of the season, but also just Stargirl as a show, and this episode is otherwise entitled The Killer. I think originally it was called The Murderer, but now it's called The Killer, apparently, but anyway. But of course, before we get into anything else, let's actually watch the trailer.
We found a monster in the woods.
It'll take everyone to stop him.
You haven't been acting like yourself, Rick.
It was an accident!
Cameron, I am so sorry.
Who killed my father, Courtney?
So your last episode was a big one, which sort of pushed everything into what's happening in this episode. I know that sounds obvious, but it sort of wrapped up some stuff while not wrapping it up at the same time. With the McKent family, if anything, it just created a new, chapter in that story, and we're going to see that play out in this episode by the looks of it in some regard. Don't know whether it's going to be a massive focus or just a minor one. Hard to tell, 100%. But of course, pretty much, I don't think there's going to be any friendly stuff with Cameron and Courtney going on this episode, at the very least. Based off last episode when the JSA attacked the McKen household, and Cameron did learn, pretty vaguely that the JSA killed his dad, but there's going to be one person who's responsible for it. It's not like all of them picked up a knife at the same time and stabbed him equally. One person's going to be responsible, and Cameron's going to be pretty envious to find that out. But as the episode ends, right at the end, we had Mike and Jakeem looking for Cindy. They used some stolen property from her to, get some leads as to where she is. But instead of finding Cindy, they find a giant albino gorilla, which seems to be the Ultra Humanite from the comics. It's not confirmed. I haven't seen it confirmed anywhere either, like on Instagram or anything, or on Twitter by any official sources. So I'm just going to assume it's the Ultra Humanite because that's who it looks like. So yeah, that's who I think it is. But they've set up some pretty interesting stuff going into these last 4 episodes. But of course, before we get into the actual breakdown of the trailer, we will quickly go over the synopsis or description for the episode, as it does give us a bit more insight as to what's happening. But of course, throughout the video, be sure to let me know in the comments section down below your various thoughts, theories, predictions, expectations, what you're looking forward to the most in this episode based off the trailer. And of course, if you're going to enjoy the video, want to show your support, why not drop a like on the video to do all that? The aftermath. Courtney and the team regroup after a dramatic confrontation leaves battle lines clearly drawn. A terrifying discovery made by Mike and Jakeem forces Pat and Sylvester to go on high alert. Finally, Paula and Larry, or Crusher, take matters into their own hands to make things right. So yeah, as the trailer does start, we have Mike and Jakeem recounting the scary events that we saw last night with them, and it looks like they are speaking to Pat and Sylvester, which would make sense considering that Pat and Sylvester are put on high alert after this event according to the synopsis. Now we do see Mike and Jakeem running through the woods and getting caught by a trap, but this might be what actually saves them, and where Sylvester or Pat finds them, or maybe a random hunter that might have actually set up that trap. You get the hunter that goes, "Oh, I've caught something," and then they cut it down and it's 2 kids, and he's like, "What the hell?" But I don't think the monster, aka, most likely Ultra Humanite, is the one that gets them after being in this trap, just based on the fact that Mike and Jakeem get to talk to Pat and Sylvester by the looks of it, and aren't dead. It will take everyone to stop him. Now, this is coming from Courtney, but would Courtney be talking about what appears to be Ultra Humanite from the end of last episode? Unless this is a clip towards the end of this episode, once Courtney gets some first-hand knowledge of the character or the threat. I mean, this appears to be well after the drama at the McCann house from the end of last episode, as Courtney is wearing different clothes. Though she still has some bruises and sores from that altercation. But then again, maybe the hooded figure is revealed at some point in this episode, and that's who Courtney is referring to. If that's the case, it would be someone that Courtney has interacted with before and knows all about, and knows it's going to take just more than her and maybe one other person to deal with. So yeah, she doesn't look pretty easy as well. She looks pretty concerned, so maybe that's who she's referring to. But then again, could be referring to Ultra Humanite from the end of last episode, or maybe even someone else, which we might talk about in a second. Now, at first, when I was reading the synopsis, I thought Paula and Crusher might have been going out to find Mike's mother, based off the chat that Crusher and Pat had last episode. But as we do see in the trailer, they are approaching the manhole that we went through a couple of episodes ago, right at the end, that led us to seeing the person in the black hood that was sort of watching and looking over the surveillance screens. of course, they were a part of the Injustice Society, so they would have knowledge, of like where certain things are and all the different entrances are of the headquarters. But Crusher appears to, I think, be holding something in his right hand here. I'm not sure if it's meant to be his Sportsmaster hockey mask. It could be. It has some sort of a similar shape. At the same time, doesn't look exactly like it. It might not be it, but it just makes you curious as to whether they will know whoever the hooded person is and whether they make it out as well. Like, you don't want to see these two characters die, I don't think, because they've somewhat redeemed themselves, and they're not two characters that I think deserve to die. But then again, that's what makes death sort of like resonant, because sometimes it just can be someone that didn't deserve to die. But yeah, I'm very curious to see what their role is, because they've sort of been like popping in and out, but because it's a hard family and group to make consistent. Like, look at Artemis. She just randomly showed up at the end of the last episode and then buggered off again. So I don't know. We'll have to see what their role is, but the fact that they have knowledge probably helps like Pat, Courtney, and the other JSA members in regards to maybe, figuring out what's going on. And just to butt in, this is future Pagey coming in while I'm editing the video. When I was just like taking screenshots for the trailer, I think what's on the floor is either they're all pictures of Rick, or they're pictures of just various people in town, or they're just pictures of all the JSA people. And that's what Crusher is holding in his right hand. It's just like a picture. It could be a picture of him, could be a picture of his wife, picture of his daughter, or a picture of one of the JSA. And I think this might be a trail that's leading to the manhole. I'm not too sure if it's meant to be an intentional trail, like, hey, like, Hansel and Gretel, like following the breadcrumbs or following the cookie crumbs or whatever it is. But it feels like it could be something like that. But yeah, I think what he's holding in his hand is a picture of someone. And the only thing I can picture on the ground there is a picture of Rick when he was about to punch the camera, which is what we saw not last episode, but the episode before. And that's what the hooded figure punched, what was on screen. So maybe he's taken, or he or she has taken a bunch of screenshots of the surveillance footage and is now putting them on these pieces of paper to mess with people. That could be what's happening here. I don't know. I might be completely wrong. Now, we do have Beth questioning Rick about his recent activity, and obviously she's worried about the hourglass, and we have as well been wondering, okay, well, this isn't smart what Rick's done, taking out the timer thing. That's not going to go well. And just makes you wonder whether Rick is going to crack, and not what we sort of like saw last episode, because he did sort of crack last episode, but that wasn't too extreme. Like, you could dial that up much higher. And it just feels like it is bubbling up to something that's not going to be ending up being that great for Rick. Now, what that end result is potentially is another question. I'm not too sure exactly that's going to be, and whether we even see it, because we don't know if they even plan to do that this season. It might have been a hypothetical thing for season 4 if that was going to happen. But it just makes me wonder what the result is, because there's something similar to this in the comics with Owlman, but it's more like drug related, and they were never going to do this when they're dealing with teenage characters. So it's just more of like a power thing, and like a power hungry and greed thing. So I just don't know exactly how they're going to represent that, but it could just be like it just starts to maybe deteriorate Rick's body or something like that. We'll have to wait and see. But one thing from the end of last episode that I wasn't too sure like how it was going to play out is, whether Cameron and Courtney actually talk. But in this trailer, we do see that Courtney approaches Cameron. He isn't happy. Doesn't seem like he wants to make amends immediately with her at all. But he wants to know who killed his father. Because as I said, his grandmother was very vague. Now, whether he stopped talking to his grandparents as well might be a thing. Then again, we know that they rang 911 for his grandfather. So maybe his grandmother and grandfather are in hospital. So he hasn't been able to ask them properly. So he just asks Courtney when he sees her. But that's going to be the big thing. If Courtney actually tells him the truth. Because we know it was Mike. But does Courtney tell him that? Does she put her own brother at risk? He doesn't have powers. He can't defend himself. And then again, is this who Courtney is referring to in that clip from earlier when she says it will take everyone to stop him? Is this like a point where she tells him, like she tells Cameron what's going on and he loses it and he goes full on icicle and becomes like fully villainous? We don't know. There are a few options as to who she could be referring to at that point in the trailer. Could be Ultra Humanite, could be whoever is under the black hood, could be someone else, or it could be Cameron. We have no idea. I'm sure we'll know in this episode, at least halfway through or 3/4 of the way through, but I don't have a solid guess going into it because it could be a couple of different options and they probably like got even odds on them. But yeah, this is going to be another episode that we go into it and we're just expecting a big reveal, and I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly who I think it's going to be because It's probably a flip of like a 7-sided coin. But we do have some promo images to go over. Some of them are from the trailer, or they're just like other shots or like other like angles that aren't seen in the trailer. So we'll just go through them quickly, except for the ones that are probably like that weren't in the trailer, if that makes sense. So we do get to see Mike and Jakeem in the pit stop with both Pat and Sylvester, and this is most likely them when they come back from their adventure in the woods and they're letting Pat and Sylvester know what's going on, which was in the trailer, obviously, but we actually do get to see that they were talking to Pat and Sylvester in regards to how they go about things and whether also they know who Ultra Humanite is. I would assume that maybe Sylvester would, but maybe Pat does as well. I'm very interested because the thing is, as I said in my review yesterday, he's like the oldest villain or one of the oldest villains in the comics. So it makes sense that he is maybe one of the oldest villains that's been around in this world as well. So maybe they know exactly who he is or what he was when he was a human as well, before he became like, put his brain and mind in the gorilla and stuff. So maybe he was a human when they dealt with him, and now he's at the gorilla portion of his career in the comics, if you want to call it. So that'll be interesting. We do get to see, Yolanda, Beth, Mike and Jakeem here. This might be, I'm not too sure, because this is like, maybe it looks like it might be in the area in which Courtney says, oh, like, it's going to take all of us to defeat them. So maybe this is that point in the episode. I'm not exactly sure, but it's just them getting some information. They look pretty concerned. And this follows up with us seeing Sylvester, Barbara, and Yolanda as well. Once again, looks like concerning information with us seeing then Courtney and Pat. And Courtney is wearing the clothes that we see in the trailer when she talks about, like it's going to take all of them to stop this person. So it seems like they're definitely building up to, like, this is the 4th last episode, as I said earlier. So it's like the final 3 are going to be like big episodes going forward. And this might be what sets it all up. So I'm very curious to see what exactly is set up in this. Maybe this scene specifically, but just the final portions of this episode as a whole. And this had me surprised. We do get to see Pat and Sylvester going to the McKen household. You can see there's all these like drugs on the table. So these might be like things that Grandpa Icicle, or what do you want to call him, Grandpa McKen has been taking after what's happened to him at the end of last episode. And Sylvester looks serious. Like, look at his face. He looks like not very happy. And I don't exactly know what this conversation would lead to, unless it's just sort of trying to calm down the tension that was built up from the end of last episode. I'm not 100% sure exactly what the intention would be to go here. But then again, it might be them asking if they know what's been going on in the bunker, if they are the hooded person that's been looking at the surveillance, things like that. Because obviously Beth's goggles track the stuff, or track the surveillance like cameras and stuff to the McKen household. And it might be Sylvester and Pat questioning them about that and just saying, hey, let us know. Is it actually you? Because it'd be easy if we can just stop this now. So they might be like, no, we have no idea. And then they can sort of reroute it, and that's when it leads them to the actual bunker. Oh, we do get to see Barbara and Paula here, and this looks like it's in the woods, going to the farm where maybe Mike and Jakeem were at the end of last episode. I don't know if they're the ones that find them, or they just go there to, like, that, like the group splits up. So 2 people, like Pat and Sylvester, go to the McKen household, Courtney and some others go to this place, and Barbara and Paula go to the farm. I don't know if that's the best idea, because that's where the Ultra Humanite was, or the big gorilla. So wouldn't you take someone with powers? But then again, maybe they go on their own accord. I'm not too sure. Maybe they go with someone else who's just not in this photo. But yeah, looks like they might be in that area. And then we do get some promo images of Courtney and Cameron talking. Don't really get anything from that. However, the final promo image is Paula and Crusher, or Larry. I just call him Crusher. I don't think I've ever said Larry when reviewing it. But we can see he's got the backpack that we do see in the trailer when they're walking towards the manhole. And this is earlier in the day. So I would assume that they leave this place, and then it leads to that night scene where they go to the manhole. Now, the interesting thing with the manhole thing in the trailer is that it's open. So someone's gone in there and they're approaching it. So I don't know if that means that someone that was at the house bails and they track them there, or if just a convenient thing where they're walking home or something like that and they see that it's open. There's a lot of mysteries going into this episode. I don't have any answers, but I can't wait to find them out. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on to show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions on all of this stuff leading to this episode. I'm very curious to hear what you guys have to say. And of course, if you're going to, if you enjoyed the video and stuff and you want to subscribe, why not do that? It helps out if you do that. But yeah, until next video, guys, I'll catch you later. Goodbye.